Thank you.
I saw Gene, you were nodding your head. I think some of that resonates with you too, does it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does, unfortunately.
Hi, Alan. How are you? Hi, Yolanda.
Good morning, all.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Yolanda. How are you?
Good.
I saw the picture of your Christmas dance, Alan. It looked like you had a great time.
Oh, it was nice to get back to doing a little bit of calling just for, even if it was only just for the one night. But at least it's set the path for next year, hopefully, if this new version doesn't put us back in the pits again.
Well, it's in Sydney and it's in Melbourne, so.
We've got it in like 5, 6 states here in the United States.
Yeah, it's amazing how quick it moves.
Yeah, it's in Canada.
But it's not in Oklahoma and it's not in Texas.
Yeah, well, that's because Texas is waiting because they want to do it bigger than everybody else.
Tell me about it.
Probably.
I've said it more times than I can count, but I live 10 miles from the Texas border. And you drive down there and you get to cross the Red River and there's the big billboard saying, "Welcome to Texas." And down below it says, "Drive friendly, the Texas way." That is an oxymoron from the word go.
You haven't been to Montreal, obviously.
Well, no, I can't say as I have, but not Texas drivers are crazy.
Or Canberra, for that matter.
Mel, can I record, please? Thanks.
Absolutely. No, I have a friend of mine that goes down to Texas every year. He's built himself a homestead down there from Canada. But I love Texicans. You know, they talk about their land and their ranches, their property, because everything's big in Texas. And this one goes, oh yeah, it doesn't matter. You know, you got a hat, it's got to be this big. It doesn't matter if you got a size 2 hat, your hat's got to be this big. Oh yeah, I could get in my car in the morning, I could pull out of the driveway and drive all day and I wouldn't get to the end of my property. And it's going on. I said, yep, I used to have a car like that too.
Good answer. Well, looks like my snow's back. I've had a couple of days off.
Keep it up there.
So Yolanda, this is the session that you were asking for, which was how do we put this all together? Can we go back and recap that? So
yes.
We're basically going to look at the last 2 years of sessions, just the choreographic side of sessions, and then putting it together. There's you and a few others who were asking for this. So that's what this session is. And I think we may have I think next week we might have our last session before Christmas, and in the new year probably look to maybe the 2nd and the 4th Sunday or something, like just cutting it down to 4, because people are starting to get back, and you know the numbers are down. We're not getting 60 to 100 people in a session anymore. And
are you able to see how many people are watching the recording afterwards?
I don't know. Let me have a look here.
I'm fairly certain that once it's been recorded, it doesn't show up on the recording anywhere. It's only during the meeting you can see how many participants.
Okay.
No, I mean,
well, I know one of the guys
meeting, is Mark can gather the metrics. It's like watching how many views you get because he posts on YouTube, and you can get the YouTube views. But I don't know how to do that. So.
Yeah, because I know there's some callers that are watching the meeting afterwards, because it just
a lot of them do.
Yeah.
I do, because quite a lot of your meetings go on at 3 o'clock in the morning my time.
Your time, middle of the afternoon here.
Yeah.
Late afternoon here.
I know I'm going back to some of the old sessions now, as they make more sense.
It's one of the things that I would go down that line and actually say absolutely.
Mhm.
If you get a chance to go to a collar school, depending on where you are, like I would put you in the intermediate journeyman. You're still a newer collar, but you've got a lot of the base skills down. You're in the intermediate range. But depending on what's available for you, if there's a new collar school for new collars, go. If there's an intermediate,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Because my first collar school I went to, I was just starting to call plus. I'd been calling, I come from Germany. I'd been calling quite a bit. I was calling, I think 5 nights a week, most weeks, and then 6 nights a week every now and then, doing a lot of festivals. And I still considered myself a new caller. So I'd only been at it for about 8 or 9, almost 10 years at this point. And I went down there, and the callers got up and, do our big thing, and it was, did their presentation. They all called these fantastic plus level tips, and I'm going, oh my God, I am so out of my league with these guys. These guys are absolutely fantastic. And then Ken, Randy, Bill Harrison, and Tony Oxendine said, right, excellent job, guys. Now, for the rest of the school, we're taking the plus off the program. No more plus. You're only allowed to do up to mainstream. That's it. And then, we had some other limitations that were going on. And then they had everybody do it again. And it's amazing how many callers couldn't meet that limitation because they weren't, they've never called a basic dance. They've never called a mainstream dance, because in their area, and it's no fault of theirs. That's what they became callers because their caller either left or passed on or retired, and they inherited the club and they had to teach themselves to call. And that's the level that they learned to call at. So it was one level.
Yeah.
And when we did that, I went down, and the first caller school, I was talking with Ken after. He says, I don't know if you should really be here. You're not really learning anything. And I said, oh my God, you are so wrong. I walked away from that caller school so refreshed. My mind was just on fire with just ideas, or watching somebody else look at something with a pair of fresh eyes. And I said, I used to see stuff like that, but I've become so complacent. And that was for new callers. And then I subsequently went back, and another one I went to coach. And every time I went back, I always came back feeling refreshed and invigorating, wanting to call. So if you ever get the chance, go.
Yeah.
But even if it's only an affirmation of what you already know,
Absolutely.
it's
Well,
often,
there's so much I need to learn still. I don't think that will be a problem.
And one of the better parts is you get to see a lot of these old farts in the afternoon or late in the evening after they've had a few drinks in them, and you find out what they really think about choreography. That's where it gets really good.
Yolanda, have you been to Lawrence Smith's?
Yes, I have.
You have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's not too far away for you.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's the only collar school I went to, and I didn't even know what a corner box was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it was like it was way over my head the first time.
You
I'll
do
feel
good
much
now.
more comfortable.
Do it again. Yeah.
Yes.
If you get a chance to go to Jeff's school, Jeff Priest, do it.
Yes. Yeah,
And also,
it was him as well. It was both of them.
excellent. Okay.
Yeah,
And
he was
also,
there. Yeah.
Ken runs, I think he's got 5 different collar schools. They're all part of the chain, Ken Ratusi. And he runs, he had 5 before that he would run, and there's one in the west, one in the east, one in the central, and so on and so forth that bounce around. They're different schools that go. If you can get down to one of his, I highly recommend that too. I know it's a bit of a jaunt for you, but the one in Sturbridge, Massachusetts is ideal. It's just such a great environment and a great learning environment, and there's so much to it. But it would be a long trip for you.
Yeah. Well, then I would have to get my passport. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not being rude. My nose just started itching.
you got to have 2 passports. You got to have your vaccination one as well.
Yes. Well, that one I've got, so that's not an issue.
Hello, Lars. How are you? Hi, Malcolm.
I'm
Mel, how you doing?
Taking notes already.
Hey, John, you need to adjust your camera. You look like Kilroy. Oh, yeah. Oh, I see. There you are. All I saw was like Kilroy was here. Okay.
It depends whether I'm up close or if I sit back.
Well, sit back and lower the camera.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hello,
Hannah.
Hannah.
Hello.
Oh, hi guys.
Oh, there she is.
You guys
Oh,
snuck
someone-
in.
Yeah, he said, "Boy, don't blink. He's quick."
How are you?
She's slicker than goose droppings on a linoleum floor, that girl.
Pardon?
I said you're smoother than goose droppings on a linoleum floor.
I had to have him repeat
Are,
that.
are you
I
not
wanted
glad
to
we don't
repeat
have smell-o-vision yet?
Could you perhaps say it in Swedish?
Yes.
You're slicker than goose droppings on a floor. How do you know
Sounds
it?
like- It should sound like a hurdy-gurdy-birdie.
I'm trying my best here.
Hi, Miss Hako.
Tell me, why is the Swedish chef from the Muppets somehow coming in around all of a sudden there?
Yeah, and I
Schmackty-
never understood why he's speaking like that because
Track
that
the
is
bird with the
nothing.
wooden hammer.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's an American thing.
Yep.
it is.
Have you ever noticed Americans when they travel abroad?
Yes, we have.
They don't in the most cases American tourists don't try and speak the language. All they do is add an outrageous accent to their English and say it louder.
We just met a couple in France, and they were going to pick up their friends because they were going to see Champs-Élysées. It's Champs-Élysées in French.
Yes.
I laughed. I was in a restaurant just outside of Paris, and we wanted a hamburger. And I know that the lady there spoke English, and she was, in my opinion, she was just being very rude. But it was funny watching. I couldn't help but laugh because, could I get a hamburger? Pardon?
Pardon.
A hamburger, beef, meat. Pardon? Can I have a hamburger, please? And it just got louder. And everybody just ended up cracking up because it just got louder and the accents got more outrageous, like as if that's going to help you understand. But it was every, Inspector Clouseau stereotype watching this poor guy. And you had to feel bad for him because we knew she spoke English. And it was just sad.
Hello, Simon.
Hello, Masako.
Hello, Mel and everybody. Nice to see you again.
Yes.
How are
Nice
things
to
in
see
your
you.
neck of the woods?
Windy,
How are things where you are?
wet and windy.
We started dancing in October, but we don't know about next year. So that's the problem.
Well, fingers crossed.
But so
Mhm.
far, we've been enjoying dancing.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you.
How many squares do you have, Misako?
Our club is a small one, so 4 sets is the maximum.
That's a good size.
Not bad.
Yes.
Are you part of that circuit of squares in Japan where you've got about 8 or 9 clubs, different levels, or are you guys just a local regional club?
We are a local regional club, and then 3 levels dancers are mixed, all in
Okay.
one dance.
What levels?
Mainstream plus advanced. Oh, actually 4. We have some challenge dancers too.
Mhm.
So that's why when I get my turn to practice calling, I don't know what level should be my target. That's my problem.
Oh, that's difficult.
Yes.
Start with your basic and mainstream. Build your
Yes.
foundation first. Oh,
I-
there's my 9 o'clock alarm.
Oh. Okay.
Um, So, John, was that you recording?
Yes, I'm recording.
Yes, I'm on now. Thank you.
Oh, hello, Lou. My dog just came up from under my desk. Mark was unable to be with us today, so John Casey has graciously stepped in to act as co-host to monitor the door and field any questions and collate, but more importantly, to record the session and make sure that Mark gets it so it can be posted online later. This was a session we've got 2 of you in here that have asked for, which is basically just the culmination or the putting together of everything we have done in the past in such a way that, what happened there? My computer screen just died. Hang on 1 second. My dog was under the desk and pulled the cable. It's okay. I'm back.
Sure, we're gonna
Oh.
believe that one, right?
Oh no, I didn't know if anybody was there or not. So I'm just anyway. So that's what this session is going to be about. So I'm just going to go to my share screen and come on. There we go. So this session, like I said, it's been asked for, and it's designed as a recap and refresher regarding the expansion, mainly of modular use, but also some of the base techniques that we've had when we have a singing call figure and how to expand those for use in pattern. It's primarily designed for the new and the newer callers that use modules, but it's a good refresher to recap the use of modular calling and expansion in the use of pattern calling for everybody. It's especially useful when working on focus movements or having a specific workshop focused idea where a theme may be a nightly theme, but you don't want to repeat the same exact sequence over and over. So I like to think of it as the difference between 2 pieces of bread with a slice of ham in the middle and calling that a ham sandwich. You know, you just slap them together. It'll feed you, but you could really take it or leave it. Or you could have a full ham sandwich experience with all the trimmings that somebody takes the time to make purely for your enjoyment and your pleasure. And when you think of square dancing like that, what you've got to think about is which one would you actually come back for? A piece of dry bread or a piece of bread with a slice of meat in between? Or an experience where you can really sink your teeth into it and enjoy it? And that's what the whole type of thing is. And that's what square dance calling is about. And that's what you want to provide, is the whole ham sandwich experience, if you will. Okay, so to recap initially, this is a busy slide, but don't try and memorize it. All the material is in the notes that will be provided. Okay, so but to remind yourself of a couple of tools in our toolbox that this applies to. And these tools are not just for choreographic management and control, but they also allow you to provide a variety that is different but not difficult in order to enhance that dancer experience while still maintaining control of the dancers and not straying from your prepared material or not straying from your prepared choreographic sequence. All you're doing is essentially just making little pit stops along the way to look at the sights. And these tools, they include things like equivalents. Okay, so equivalents. We've got equivalents like square for most of us start a singing call sequence, head square through, standard opening. Well, you can do head, star through, pass through, square through 3, and trade by. In your pattern, that's your head square through. Nobody's going to see it. You could do heads, pass the ocean, girls trade, swing through, centers, box the gnat, pass through. I've just done a square through, but it's totally disguised because I've used an equivalent for square through. Partner trade is another one, you know, wheel around, reverse wheel around, pass through, you know. A simple do-si-do 1.5 equals a passer. If you want to get fancy, right and left through, half sachet, box the net, pull by. It's a pass-through. And nobody will see that as a pass-through because it's a whole new choreographic sequence. Right and left through. I change a right and left through in a sequence. How many of us have a singing call that has a right and left through in it? Well, in your pattern, you know, if you do something like pass-through wheel around or pass-through reverse wheel around, or if you want to get inventive, pass through wheel and deal double pass through, first go right, next couple go left. Not only have I done a right and left through, but I've changed where people are and my orientation. Wow. But that's all I've really called is right and left through. Star through or slide through. Those are in almost 80% of our sequences today. Well, if I've got a star through, so I go head square through and the next movement happens to be slide through, what happens if I call head square through, swing through, spin the top right and left through? That replaces slide through. That's an equivalent. Through close, zoom, wow. But the dance feels different. I strongly encourage, and there's up there a bunch more of my in the notepad. I strongly encourage you to with, I would say, would be square through, right and left through, and slide through. Whole logic. The next one is your foundation modules. Oops, I went too far there. Okay, these are things like your box 0, your basic early flow modules, swing through, or so I'm in a corner box, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, centers, pass through. It's filler. It doesn't do anything. It just fills it in. It allows you to take a breath while the dancers are moving, and it moves you from that box back to that same box. Or the same with the foundation line 0 module. Does anybody know what that is? Shout it out. Partner line to partner line, foundation module.
Pass through, wheel and deal, Mel.
That's the one. Pass through, wheel and deal, double pass through, first go left, next go right. That's one that should be in every caller's toolbox. Your basic conversion module from corner box to partner line, anybody? Often called the magic module. These should be in every caller's toolbox. Go ahead.
Swing through, boys trade, girls circulate, boys run, bend the line.
Perfect. How about the standard conversion module, often called a magic module, but it's not, but the other one from partner line to corner box?
Touch a quarter, circulate, boys run.
Absolutely. Yolanda, what's the invert and rotate module? The basic toolbox module. Anybody?
Slide through, pass through, bend the line, slide through.
Absolutely. And then, of course, the last one that is your 6th foundation module is the chicken plucker, right and left through, dive through, centers, pass through. Those are the 6 foundation modules that every caller should have memorized and in their toolbox. So if you don't know those now, ensure you know them. And they're all written out in the notes as well. And we've had sessions on each one of these aspects. Okay. The other thing you have is flow modules. Now, flow modules are an anomaly because how people look at them is very different. And what a flow module is to one person may not be what a flow module is to another person. So what I'm providing here is just a simple set of the way I interpret it to start off with. And what they are is sequences and combinations of movements that go well together, giving good body flow throughout a sequence. And many callers over the years have developed a memory of smooth flowing combinations that they just slot into their patter calling to ensure that the dancers get a great dancing experience. For newer callers, this can often be confusing when an experienced caller says, oh, you want to put a flow module in there just to break it up, without really explaining what it does. So what I say is it's best to start by looking at 1 or 2 and see what they do. Then you can remember them easier by associating them to a movement or sequence that achieves the same effect. In essence, what you want to do is look at your flow module when somebody gives you one and equate it to an equivalent or an equivalent sequence. And these are equivalent sequences of movements that replace either a single movement or a combination of movements. And what they are is modules put in for a variety and for good flow and a good pattern to achieve an overflow break or to set up good body flow to lead into something else. So a classic example, one of my favorites, is the movement reverse flutter wheel. We use that a lot, reverse flutter wheel. Well, a reverse flutter wheel, here's a nice little flow module that replaces it. right and left through, Dixie style to an ocean wave, boys start, swing through, chain down the line. That does exactly the same as reverse flutter wheel. So I can use that as an equivalent for reverse flutter wheel. The movement slide through, here's a little flow module. Right and left through, past the ocean, ladies trade, recycle. Ooh, that does exactly the same as star through or slide through. So it's a flow module that I can use as an equivalent to replace those. And there's a few of these listed in there. Square through equals swing through, spin the top, pass through. A few of us know half the chicken plucker instead of right and left through, dive through, pass through, square through, 3 trade by. Those are little flow modules that once you build 1 or 2 of them up, you're going to find that they will enhance your calling greatly, and they'll give you just a little more variety, but give you those beautiful flowing sequences that when you look at a caller and go, wow, that's how they're doing it. They've just prepared and practiced it. The next thing in your toolbox are the prepared and practiced general modules. Okay, so we've got our 6 foundation modules, but every caller after a couple of years should have at least one of each of the category of prepared, fallback, feel-good modules. Okay, now these are 0 modules in the repertoire that you can draw from. And as noted in previous sessions, I like to use the term fixed point modules. Fixed point means a corner box or a partner line or a point where you can call an Alaman left. That's a fixed point for me because you can fix the square by calling Alaman left. Starting there is a good way to flesh out your routines. Alternatively, and ideally, it's the creation of focus modules with your theme movements if you're doing I gotta keep my mouse on the right screen here. Okay. So if you do a theme, you prepare a corner box to corner box, a partner line to partner line, a conversion corner box to partner line, a partner line to corner box conversion, and a get out for each one of those. If you do that, you've got more than ample material. And each caller should have, after a little bit of practice, you're going to find one of these modules in each category there that is going to be your go-to fallback module. So now what you've done is you've taken 6 modules that you have, your foundation modules, and you've added another 6 that you can pull out of thin air anytime you want. I've added a couple of my favorites into the notes, but a good example would be, for instance, corner box to corner box, touch a quarter, centers cross run, split circulate, men cross run, right and left through. Now that not only keeps the corner box, but it rotates the square and it gives it that beautiful flowing of continuity with the cross run centers and then the cross run boys back to that flows with the circulates. And there's a lot of them. A partner line to a partner line one, which I stole from Alan, past the ocean, swing through, boys run, chain down the line. I don't know why I never saw that before, but he used that and I said, oh my God, that is just so beautiful and smooth. Why did I not? So I stole it. I researched it into my repertoire, And there's a list of a lot of these. You'll eventually have a standard get out. Does anybody have a standard get out? You know, you get to a corner box and you want to do a get out, but you don't want to do your singing call. Somebody give me a go-to standard get out that you use all the time that's not Alaman left. Anybody? Is anybody still there?
Staying with your standard modules, if you just use your normal flow module, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, and the center slide through and back away.
Yep. So that's, instead of doing a pass through, slide through and back away, and suddenly you've got, surprise, you're home. And that works if your corner box is exact. Some callers have a get out every time they get to a corner box. They can end it with a right and left grand, and a few people have that. Others have a, you know, as an example, slide through, right and left through. Everybody do a half sachet. Ooh, it feels different. Past the ocean. Boys, oh my God, what's going on? Girls are circulating around the outside. Oh, there she is, right and left grand. Wow, where did that come from? But that's a good fallback because, hey, it's a corner box. It's an easy out. It surprises the dancers and it gives them the reward to that right and left grand where they don't have to think very hard because they've done a past the ocean, but the boys are in the middle. There was no thinking after that because the girls just start walking forward. And of course, guys love it when they can stand still and the girls are doing the work. I don't know why, but that's just simple fact. Okay. The big thing that you have to remember is make your modules short, simple, and have good flow. If they meet those criteria, they're going to be easy to remember, and establish some of those that will become your fallback modules. You'll use them over and over and over. Add them to your foundation modules, and you've got a Nights of Dancing that you'll never repeat yourself. So if we want to use our simple tools effectively, there's a number of basic tools that most callers, whether new or experienced, have in their toolbox. Many new callers are often in awe, going, oh, wow, how does he do that? How does she do that? When they see one of these great callers up there making it look so easy and so effortless and so smooth with their sequences and routines that just seem to pop out of nowhere. It's not all sight calling, despite what they may tell you, and it's not all technical calling or even pure mental image calling. It's an enhancement of whatever calling technique they use with the addition of some of those basic caller tools. Switching a movement for an equivalent to give a different feel, throwing in a zero module to add filler. And these things include your equivalents to replace movement, and every caller should have a few. Your 6 foundation modules to add a little break in your sequence. Your flow modules, and again, start with the equivalent sequences to get used to them, but all they do is they convert from one known state to another state. Star through changes you from a line to a box or a box to a line. An equivalent will do exactly the same thing. Your zero modules are fillers, your conversion modules to change from boxes and lines, and your resolution modules. Each of these basic tools we've discussed in previous sessions, and we've looked at in detail during the sessions over these last 2 years. And if you want to review them, go back to the OC Callers webpage. Most of the sessions are there, and most of the notes that accompany them are there with all of the choreographic sequences in there that you can just plug into Taminations or get your checkers out and do and review them. Okay, but I, like any tools, check them frequently, change and replace them as needed. You know, your screwdriver may be getting old and worn at the tip. You may have to go and buy a new screwdriver. Well, the same thing goes with your calling module. That calling module you use may be getting old. You might want to go find another one and add that to your repertoire. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these basic tools in our toolkit to figure out how we flesh these out. So I'm just going to, let's see what we got here. We'll pull that one up. Okay. So things to remember are use your equivalents. You know, pick out a few, learn them, because they're going to add the basic balance and flavor to your dance. They're also going to allow you to repeat a small routine several times without the dancers realizing. To them, it's a lot of different choreography and it's a lot of different routines. For you, it's just repeating the same thing over and over, but I changed square through to touch a quarter, boys run, you know, something like that. So we've got a routine singing call here. Let's just put this on fast so we're not going, you know, head square through 4, do a do, si, do. This is just a singing call I pulled off a cue sheet. Spin the top, right and left through with a half sachet, touch a quarter, boys run, swing your corner, and promenade home. Okay, so if we were to keep that very simple at the start, if we look at it, we've got head square through 4. We've got a couple equivalents for that. Swing through, spin the top, right and left through. Okay, that's an equivalent for star through. So we can take those 3 movements and put in any star through equivalent. And we have equivalents for, if you see up here on the screen, right and left through. I can change anything without changing this sequence at all. I could do, the square through, I could do heads, touch a quarter, boys run. There's my square through. Instead of the swing through, spin the top, right and left through, which equates to a star through, I can do a right and left through, flutter wheel, sweep a quarter more. I could do a swing through, boys trade, boys run, bend the line, all those other kinds of things. Or I could leave it as swing through, spin the top, and change the right and left through to pass through, wheel and deal, double pass through, first go right, next go left. I haven't changed this sequence at all, but if I did touch a quarter, boys run, swing through, boys trade, boys run, bend the line, pass through, wheel and deal, double pass through, first couple go left, next couple go right. I've called exactly the same sequence as head square through, do, si, do, swing through, spin the top, right and left through. I've done exactly the same thing. The dancers aren't going to notice it. All I've done is put in a couple of equivalents. But just changing those 3 things, I now have 54 possible mix and match combinations to replace that initial figure. And I have not changed the initial singing call figure. I have total control of the figure because I know what it does and I'm using that figure. All I did was just change a few bits. If I look at it as type, all I've done is write your name out and just change the colors of the letters. And then I change them a different color, and then I change them a different color again. It's still the same name. It just looks different. It feels different. To do this, you've got to know the difference between a true 0 and a technical 0. So from a corner box, for instance, a corner box, swing through, spin the top, slide through. That's a true 0. An 8-chain 4, that's a technical 0 as it rotates the set. It's got the same Fazar footprint, but it's in a different location. Or you can have a corner box to corner box 0 that does an invert and rotate, star through, pass through, bend the line, slide through, that Alan gave us. That's a technical 0. It's the same Fazar. It's still a corner box to a corner box, but not only is it a different footprint, I've changed the heads and the sides, it's in a different location and it feels really different, but it's still a corner box to corner box. Or it's a 0 module, a box to a box module. And you can slot those in pretty much anywhere. So let's look at when we use a box. We're going to set up a box here, just another sequence from a singing call figure. We're going to look at that, and then we're going to use the invert and rotate module to see what kind of change that makes, but it's still going to be exactly the same figure. So this one is head square through. This is the singing call figure, do, si, do, swing through, spin the top, right and left through, pass the ocean, girls trade, boys cross, fold, swing and promenade. I don't want to use that in my patter 7 times and just change the swing corner to an Alaman left, do I? What I want to do is I want to dance that so that dancers are comfortable. So I might change it to something like this. This is exactly the same figure, but what I've done is I've added an invert and rotate module. I've added in here an invert and rotate module. This is part of my figure. There's my invert and rotate module. And then I've just finished the sequence. This is exactly the same figure. What this is head square through, swing through, spin the top, right and left through, pass the ocean, girls trade, boys cross, fold, swing the corner, and promenade. I'm not doing anything different other than changing and adding that invert and rotate. Okay, there's my do, si, do to an ocean wave right after the pass the ocean. Pass the ocean is still a box. So if I go head square through, do, si, do, the next movement is swing through. Oh, what have we got here? Swing through, spin the top, right and left through, pass the ocean. There's my invert and rotate module. Girls trade, boys cross, fold. It's the same module, but this now looks completely different. Same sequence. There's my invert and rotate module going. Back to the sequence, ladies trade, boys cross, fold, Alaman left, right and left grand, and promenade home. The only change I've made is change swing your corner to Alaman left. You know, I can do all sorts of things along that line and never really have to go away from my sequences. Back to, I believe. Okay. So to quickly recap, you've got know your equivalents. One change, changing one movement to an equivalent equals a whole new routine for the dancers. Know the difference between your technical and your true zeros. Know how to use them effectively. Use your invert and rotate module when you're in a standard box or standard wave, because putting that in is not going to change the flow or the sequencing of your dancers if you follow the structure of your singing call figure. If you start venturing out into extemporaneous sight or that kind of stuff, it will, but we're not doing that. Number 4 is use your conversions to work from both lines and boxes. Convert to a line, do a line 0. Convert to a box, do a box 0. When that happens, it gives a whole different dimension to the dancers rather than seemingly just going back and forth across a grid square. Movements with circulates or circular flows in the conversion are especially nice, such as the magic module, because that uses a lot of the floor and it gives the feel of that dance. And what happens is when you use a conversion from a line to a box and a box to a line, if you're only going to use the magic module to change that way, and we choose to do it after the box point or after a line point, what we've done is essentially given a 3-fold increase. So now we've gone from 54 to 490, and now by using that invert and rotate, we've added 3 times that again. So now we've got, just from our one figure, the one equivalent for each of those 3 movements, a simple module, and using an invert and rotate, I haven't changed anything, 1,470 possible combination figures using that sequence, and we still have not even put in a 0 module or any of our foundation modules. And we still have total control of that singing call figure because all we are doing is one singing call figure. That's what we've done. Now, think about adding a 0 in there. 0 modules from fixed points are a nice way to have control and flow. If you remember what Alan said, he got to that corner box, swing through boys, run Ferris wheel, center, star through, and back away, you're home. Well, that's using a module. You could do that as a pass through instead of the star through and back away. And you've added a new dimension because to your dancers, this is something different. It's something added on. The change, and the feel, once you're comfortable, you can pretty much put these 0 modules into any line in any box if you understand them. And it's a great advantage when you have a few of them in your repertoire, because when you prepare some focus modules, it gives you a lot of variety very quickly and very easily. If any of you have ever been to the Stuttgart Marathon dance back in the early 80s, I don't even know if it's still running, but it was 10 hours of dancing, and you did 45 minutes of dancing, a singing call, and you got a 10-minute break. 45 minutes of patter, a singing call, you got a 10-minute break. And that's what it went. When they did these, this is what those callers would use, would take a singing call figure, and they didn't extemporaneously sight call. All they did was just work that same figure over and over and over with equivalents and modules. And it's amazing how fast you can go through 45 minutes of calling without repeating yourself and still having total control of the dancers. And by also inserting 0 modules, again, you're increasing the combinations exponentially depending on how many modules you prepare. It's particularly important when you start using focus modules for line zeros, for box zeros, for conversions and get outs. And we did all the math on that in previous sequences. If you want to know about the math, just go and look up those. You can also use your theme and focus modules. They work exactly the same way as your prepared go-to modules. Okay, mix and match, build around a specific focus. And the principle is exactly the same. Essentially what they are is these are more tools of the same type that you already have in your repertoire. All you're doing is adding a second screwdriver. We're still using a flat screwdriver, but now we've got a smaller flat screwdriver, or we've got a bigger flat screwdriver to turn the big screws or the little screws. We're using our tools more effectively. That's all we're doing. We had a little bit about this in the discussion right at the beginning. These simple tools are foundation tools for callers and are as important to calling and calling success as understanding things like body movement, flow, timing, showmanship, all those other aspects. I put showmanship in there, but actually showmanship and performance are probably more important, because if you can pull off the showmanship and give everybody a good time, they can forgive a lot of little mistakes, because you will get better with your choreography, but you're not going to get better with your showmanship unless you work at it. But what you can see is by learning a few of these basic foundations first and building on them slowly at a pace that you can absorb. Don't feel rushed. You have to be the one that is able to absorb this, such as, for instance, learning 1 or 2 at a time. And once they're part of your long-term committed memory and they're in your repertoire, add another one. What you're going to find is your calling routines are going to exponentially increase for variety. Simple changes like equivalents make it feel like a whole new dancing experience, because the journey is just taking a little detour on the route. Invert and rotate makes it feel like you're interacting more with everybody and you're moving around the whole of the entire dance floor, because what's happening is you're going to see, you're going to interact with new people, you're going to be focused and changed to which walls you're working up, and it's going to feel like you're getting totally mixed up and then found again. The truth is, the caller is barely even thinking about it because he or she has already thought ahead to the next movement. Says, I'm just going to invert and rotate this square, but it's still going to be a corner box. Okay, what am I going to call next? The dancers are going, wow, how is this guy doing that? Modules are going to add variety. Essentially, think of it, these are a pit stop. You're on a tour bus with a bunch of your friends, and you make a pit stop. You get out, you stretch your legs for a moment, then you go back into the square dance car, which is the routine. That's going to take us to the end of this particular journey. But these little pit stops with modules and variety also allow the tour guide to stop the bus, show us some of the important sites along the way of where we stopped, give us a little guided tour, and then make sure everybody's back on the bus before that journey continues. Wow. It's not only a tour, it's a guided tour. You pay extra for that. You don't have to do that in square dancing. Add to that the chicken plucker routine. Okay, so we'll use that same bus analogy. What we're doing now is we're doubling the journey, looking at it both coming and going. So think of it as a pit stop. We stopped at this location. One group went to one aspect, one side of the cathedral. Another one went to the other side of the cathedral, and they did the tour. They all come back for lunch and they compared their notes. Then after lunch, they switched over. So they got the second part of the tour, and the other group got the part that they missed because they were on the first one in the morning. Everybody gets to see everything. It's been split into two groups. One half sees in the morning, the other in the afternoon. Then they change. Both get to see all the sites, and then when they get back on the bus and go to the hotel for the evening, they begin to compare notes about the experiences they had. Even though everybody saw the same thing, that's the caller's point of view, their memories of that journey and the companionship that they had and the experience they had is going to differ from person to person. That's the dancer's point of view. That's why all of this stuff is called expansion filler and module control. Any questions? Absolute silence.
And there's nothing in the chat, Mel.
It couldn't have been that good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Now this, as I said, this was a requested session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at some choreography in a little more detail to show you how this expands and how this works a little bit more. And all this choreography and how to look at it at your own pace is in the notes, and they're freely available, or they will be freely available on the OC Callers website when Mark puts them up there. So let's just go to screen 2 here again. We'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of that. Okay. So let's look here at a, sorry. I just swallowed a bug. Yummy. Okay, so let's look at the following singing call sequence. Head square through, if any of you ever done Rhythm of the Rain or Too Good to Throw Away, you know, any of those kinds of songs. This is a standard rhythm record singing call. Head square through, do-si-do, sorry, royal record. Swing through, boys run, bend the line, right and left through, flutter wheel, slide through, swing your corner, promenade. Pretty straightforward, nice little sequence. Okay, I've got a corner box there. Swing through, boys run, bend the line. It's a standard line, a right and left through. It's still in a standard line. Flutter wheel, still in a standard line. Slide through, takes me back to the corner box for a corner swing. There's a lot I can do with that. So I look at that and I want to make a couple simple changes. Okay, I know a couple of square through equivalents, so I can change the square through to an equivalent. Do-si-do, swing through, boys run, bend the line. You know what? That flows nice, so let's just leave that alone for now. Right and left through. Oh, we've got hundreds of things that will do the same as a right and left through. Pass through, wheel around, you know, all these other kinds of things. Flutter wheel. Yeah, there's equivalents, but we're just going to leave that alone as well because we want to keep that flutter wheel. Slide through. Well, we've already talked about slide through. So we're going to change the square through with an equivalent. We're going to use the right and left through with an equivalent. We're going to use the slide through with an equivalent. Now, if we only have one equivalent for each of those movements, think about how many different combination sequences we can make using 1, using 2, or using 3, exponentially growing on each other. I can change just the square through and do the rest of the sequence. I can change just the right and left through and do the rest of the sequence. I can do the slide through and use the right in the sequence. I can change the square through and the right and left through and leave the slide through, and so on and so on and so forth. And I haven't even used any prepared modules. Well, I have equivalents or modules. I haven't used anything prepared, just known stuff. If we add a chicken plucker in and a chicken plucker out, we've now doubled that number again. If we add an invert and rotate at the first corner box, we've doubled it again, and we haven't changed the sequence. If we add a box 0 module at the end of the sequence, we've doubled our possibilities again. If we insert one line module, the sequence possibilities have doubled again. And if we start using equivalents to any of these additions, anytime we make a change, the possibilities just keep on doubling exponentially. Every time we change things, the amount of different sequences we have is going to double. This goes right into that old, would you rather have $1 million, or would you rather have 1 penny, and then the next day I give you 2, and the next day I give you 4, and the next day I give you 8, and so on and so on and so forth. Most people grab $1 million. But if you think logically, after a year, you've got so much more money. So let's look at this and just see what we've got here. We've looked at our sequence. So let's look at the sequence here. Here's our sequence: square through, swing through, boys run, bend the line, right and left through, flutter wheel, slide through. The next time we're going to use it, we're going to change an equivalent for square through. We're going to add in a module. We're going to add in an invert and rotate module. Still the same sequence. Those don't actually do anything. When we get to the standard line, we're going to use a partner line to partner line fixed point module, and so on and so forth. This is the same sequence. Okay, here's the sequence. Bend the line, right and left through, flutter wheel, slide through, Allemande left, square the set. Here's the same sequence. There's our trade, our square through. Here's our invert and rotate module. This is our original sequence. Here's our line 0. Here's our right and left through changed over. We kept the flutter wheel. Here's our slide through. Touch a quarter, scoot back, boys run. That replaces our slide through. That looks so completely different, but all I've done was just change a couple movements and add an invert and rotate. And the list goes on. Here's the same sequence again. Now I'm going to add a chicken plucker in, so I get to work both sides. And I'm going to start with the side so it feels different. Here's my half chicken plucker. I'm back to a corner box, but in a different location. There's my 0 module. I'm back to my sequence. Here's a line 0, pass through, wheel and deal 1. Back to the original sequence. We're done. Let's do the other half of our chicken plucker. And there's the end of our sequence. I haven't changed anything. I haven't changed this sequence at all. All I've done is swap 1 or 2 movements. And I think everybody in this room can think, oh, what can I do instead of a square through? What can I do instead of a right and left through? What can I do instead of, a star through? We all know how to use a chicken plucker. Work the sides, then we do the other half of the chicken plucker and we come back. Or, sorry, we work the right hand lady and then we come back to our corner. That's all I'm doing here. And if we put everything together, there's our base sequence. Here's the sequence with a little bit of, I've just changed. I've now started with the sides or the heads. And I did what Alan did instead of finishing with an Allemande. Oh, you're home. Great. And now I'm replacing square through with star through, centers pass through, square through 3 trade by. I'm inserting the invert and rotate module. This is part of the original singing call. This is our line 0, pass through, tag the line, leaders U-turn back, slide through. That's our line, but it flip-flops the line. So if you were looking at the back wall, now you're looking at the front wall, but you're still in exactly the same line. It just feels different because you moved around. We've changed our right and left through here to pass through wheel around, keeping the flutter wheel. And we've changed our slide through to touch a quarter, scoot back, boys run. We've done a half chicken plucker, so we have to do the other half of the chicken plucker. And we're just going to insert a box module. Swing through, spin the top, slide through, does nothing. We put our invert and rotate module because we want to do that. Oh, we're in line, back to our original sequence. We're back in bend the line, pass through wheel and deal. That's just a line 0, does nothing. It's a foundation module. Back to our original sequence, right and left through, flutter wheel, slide through. I'm just doing it on the other half of the square. We now do the other half of the chicken plucker to come back to our original square through 3 trade by. There's the Alaman left. That is still the same single sequence. And watch what happens. If you're watching that flow, you can see, just track one of those dancers and tell me if they're using a lot of the dance floor. Okay, they're now looking like, if you look at number 1 man, he's looking at side walls, head walls, moving back, he's on the right side, or he's on the left side. Now he's on the other side, the whole entire other side of the square, he's back over, but he's moving around. And he's now on the top half. He's on the bottom right half. And there's a lot of movement in there. And there's good flow, there's direction changes. There's the reward, they're getting out to that right and left ground. Let's do this starting with the sides now, just for different, but then I did the chicken plucker to bring it back to a standard box. Wow, why did I do that? Well, because it just feels different. I'm starting looking at different walls. And because I'm doing that, following that number 1 man around again, it's got the same kind of flow that's comfortable and it's known to him. And when you look at that, kind of going all over the place. And there's no overflow in that. She's going all over the place. There's no overflow in that. She's going all over the place. There's no overflow in that. And he's going all over the place, using up the whole floor. And you tell me that those 2 boys aren't interacting. They're crossing paths about half a dozen times. Crossing her path. Dancing with her. Dancing with her here and here. All of those, that's a complete interaction. And guess what? All I've done here is head square through, swing through, boys run, bend the line, right and left through, flutter wheel, slide through. That's it. I have added nothing else to that sequence. All I did was change little bits, take a pit stop on the way. What this means is you have a pattern record. And if you're like me, I don't like these 6, 8, 12, 20-minute pattern records. I like a good pattern record that's about 4 minutes long, the same as a singing call. So if you look at a standard pattern record, that's 448 beats of music. Okay, that's about 4 minutes. This takes 376 beats, which leaves you 72 beats of music left. Let's say I started this sequence with Alaman left in the Alamo style, swing through, balance, swing through, turn through, Alaman left, right and left grand, swing your partner, you're home. Okay. I add that with a bow to the partner, corner 2. Everybody go up to the middle with a cowboy yell. Guess what? I'm now at 70 beats of music. And I've used 1 singing call figure and just some basic tools that are in every caller's toolbox. And I have not used any theme modules. I haven't used any prepared, really weird, outlandish modules or anything focused to do a workshop tip. All I've done is deliver good, solid dancing that's a little bit different, not difficult, and has that kind of variety. And as a new caller, as you gain an experience, much of this will apply to you. And what you're doing is you're just disguising your prepared singing call sequence, because you will have prepared sometimes focus modules to insert, or the modules that you have as your go-to modules. And with the corner box to partner line and partner line modules and your get outs and everything else, your tip is going to be clean. It's going to be clear. It's going to be danceable. It's going to be enjoyable. It's going to have variety. And more importantly, you're going to be in complete control of your dancers, and you're going to feel like you're in complete control of your dancers. And that's the target goal, is that they have a good time and they can trust you because you know what you're doing and they feel that you know what you're doing. Even if you don't, this gives you a tool to fake it very well. Trust me, I've been faking it very well for over 30 years of calling. Well, 40 years ago, oh my God, 40 years of calling, okay? So remember, you can insert your equivalents with your modules for even more variety, but as always, be aware of body flow and hand availability. You have to be aware of all those things. Those are basic caller tools, is your movement mechanics. But this is the simple version of what we've been doing over the last 2 years and how to use it. So these are the notes, and then what I've done, think about what you could do with a tip. I just did one of these up for recycle. So there's a singing call figure. It's got a corner. This is with focus modules. So there's a corner box figure. There's a corner box to partner line. There's a resolution. Partner line to partner line. I did 2 of those. Partner line to corner box and resolve. I did 2 of those just to fill in the grid. And these are your toolkits. You know, equivalents to square through, right and left through, slide through, a chicken plucker, invert, rotate, and your foundation modules. What did we say in one of our sessions? That's 196, so that's 384 3module combinations I can make with just those. Add on your foundation modules and your go-tos. You know, if your pattern record was 80 minutes long, you'd still run out of music before you ran out of combinations. And I'm still using 1 singing call figure. That's the theory of how it works. That's the culmination and the review of the last 2 years of sessions on choreography, choreographic management, and everything else. Those notes are going to be freely available to everybody, as is all the choreography I've mentioned and a little bit more. But I've waffled on enough. Let's open it up to chat. I'm sure there's a few questions, and we've got a lot of very experienced callers. There's some callers in this room that make me look like I am brand new. I don't even know what square dancing means. So there's that much knowledge in the room that is sitting back there. So let's have some input. Anybody? I know I'm not that good that it's that clear.
I'll just interject one point for you, Mel. Your magic module that goes from your box to your line.
Mm-hmm.
And if they wanted to sort of, okay, analyze that and see what it actually does, and say, can I have another one that does the same sort of thing that I could use exactly the same way?
Let's put it up there.
When you do this,
hang on a second. Now I'm going to catch up with you because this is one of the things that's been requested by actually almost all of the new callers. When we talk something like that, if I can show it, I will.
So effectively, my aim is to come up with another magic module that I might be able to add to my repertoire. And we've got the swing through, girls circulate, boys run, or you could use hinge if you wanted to, which is a nice flow.
What is going on? My keyboard is slower than my typing today.
So what actually happened there was that the circulate took a lady across the square into another box, and it brought the lady over that we needed to make the line. So if we go back to a 0 box and we think, is there another way we can shift either a boy or a girl across and give me a very easy module that's going to replace that swing through boys run, swing through boys trade, girls circulate, boys run, etc. So let's have a corner box, and
I'm getting there. think I had too many versions of Taminations open because it's slowed right down. So.
So initially, all we knew was that this module moved the ladies around the square. So what are you doing, Mel? Oh, so you've just gone back to where we were. Okay.
Just back in the corner box, just so they can see it in comparison.
Okay, so if we veer left, and the thrust of the module was that the ladies circulated. So let's circulate the ladies. Oh, sorry, let's trade the ladies first. Don't do that. Undo that, Mel. Trade the ladies first so they're in sequence. And now the ladies circulate. We've got our paired line, although a bend the line will give it to us straight away, but I prefer a cast off 3/4 here because the ladies are on the move and it works really well in terms of flow.
Lines.
So now you could use your magic module and go back to your corner box again, your other magic module, touch a quarter, circulate, etc. And we'll look at it. Can we expand what we've just learned, that we can actually make a nice, easy line module like we just did, where we use different people doing it. And so let's this time, but veer right. Let's try doing it slightly differently. The boys trade, so it's up till now it's the same pattern: a veer, a trade, a circulate. And once again, either a cast off 3/4 or a bend the line. And we've created two very nice magic modules that do replace our existing standard traditional magic module. And it's given us the line, but in a different position. So the number one couple are now over on the right hand of the line instead of the left hand end of the line. But this just gives you a little bit of variation if you're still using the same patterns of going from a box to a line, back to a box, etc. So that's a nice, easy little module to remember. It doesn't matter which way you veer, you always trade the centers and you always circulate the centers, and you've got your created that line module for yourself.
May I add a note?
Yes, please, Mick.
The difficulty on this would be from the corner box with the veer.
Oh,
so you
could
not start like with a square through. It would not be so nice, but like a head lady's chain and lead to the left and veer to the right, that would be a nice one.
Yes.
Or a heads reverse the flutter, promenade halfway and lead to the right, veer left. So you got to be careful about getting into that corner box with the flow in order to veer properly and smooth.
Yeah, very good point. I tend to use it coming off the Ferris wheel and the centers pass through. So if you're doing a swing through boys run Ferris wheel, centers pass through and then you go into your veer module. Yes. But that's a very short, easy module to remember.
And that's cool.
And I want to stress on what Alan's talking about is it's another corner box to corner box, or sorry, another corner box to partner line conversion module. As with all of these modules, as with all conversion modules, as with any fixed point modules or any other module you use, always be aware of your body flow and your hand availability. That's what Mickey is talking about. There are a lot of modules that are written there that are beautiful modules, and these are absolutely beautiful modules, but you've got to establish the body flow first, or you've got to break a body flow if you want to use it before that. In this case, the veer right coming off a square through, yes, I understand that fully, but I don't think that's what Alan was trying to get. He's just showing us the magic module.
Yeah.
The other thing that I liked about his second one, where you do the veer right, boys trade and circulate, and then couple circulate, bend the line, or couple circulate, cast off 3/4, or just the cast off 3/4 for the flow. That's changing the direction you're doing your circulate. That's got the a change in flow direction, so it feels you're doing it backwards. Well, when we're turning it back to the corner box, we use touch a quarter, circulate, boys run. We can do left touch a quarter, circulate, girls run. That keeps that symmetrical flow to feel different, but you have total control of the dancers because it does exactly the same thing. It's just changing that partner line to a corner box. For the dancers, it's going, wow, I went this way, I went that way, I went inside, I went outside. Girls were on the outside, boys were on the outside. Which way am I going here? I can do this. This is easy. I am not confused, but I'm having a great time. And that's what it's all about. It's not hard. And just those 3 little modules that were given there, guess what? If I put them in and I've got body flow, I have now added 2 times 2 times 2 to the number of sequences that I have. So we had 1,470 sequences. We add those on. What's 1,470 times 2? What's that answer times 2? What's that answer times 2? I'm going to run out of music, and I still haven't added on any prepared modules. This is just something that's known in Alan's head. That's how it works. It sounds simple. Trust me, it's not. But when you start small and you add on and you prepare, you're going to find big rewards because your knowledge is going to increase exponentially coming out of that microphone. It's going to seem like you know 100 million things when really what you know is 1 singing call figure and a couple of conversions and your foundation skills. You just know how to put them together. They flow.
And another note, I really like the modules and equivalents Alan brought up. And with the Ferris wheel, I don't like so much to pass through and then veer, get into the outside. But using a Ferris wheel, you could, depending from which side you come, go into a veer left, veer right twice, wake up the others, which has a nice flow once again. Yeah. So if you can set that up with the veer action, then you even have a quite nice entertaining tool with the veers going to the left for the centers, going to the right for the centers, and then for everybody, and really have a smooth working the pattern.
Very good.
So very good. This is what Mickey is talking about. So if we had our box somewhere down the line, and we had a corner box, and we use that module, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, centers, pass through. You know, we know we're back in the box. Well, we want to use Alan's veer right module. So we could easily do, this is what Mickey's talking about. I believe I'm right, so correct me if I'm wrong, but veer left. Sorry, centers.
Veer left, yeah.
Veer left, centers, veer right. Everybody, veer right, boys.
Trade.
Trade.
I mean, that is as smooth as a heated knife going through butter, right?
Mm.
And wow, what is going on here? Touch 1/4.
Mel, can you just...
Boys run.
You're
hey, I'm back in my corner box. Sorry, what was that, Alan?
Can you drop back to where you're doing the boys circulate?
Sure.
So the boys have circulated to here.
Yeah.
And if you have a reverse cast off, in other words, where you have the pivot around the girl, you can actually take it 2 or 3 steps in your home. It's sort of one of those things where you can sort of fudge or get out to home if you really need it. If you've lost some squares or something like that. So I tend to
I
before
don't know how
the
to show that, but I know what you mean.
yeah.
I would call it
It's something you're fudging. It's like what I call a lot of the fudges I use occasionally. And a classic a classic one I use is if I've got mixed blinds. In other words, I've got one couple paired, one couple not paired, and squares have broken down somewhere and I want to get going quickly. I might put them in the situation where I've got the paired couple on the left-hand end of the line, and I'll just do the end two ladies, the ladies on the ends of the line diagonally chain, and then everybody promenade home. So I sort of quickly pair up everybody as a quick recovery mechanism. It's just another idea I occasionally
You just saw
use.
that, did you, Yolanda?
Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah.
You just inspired me.
Yes.
And I'm gonna
Thank you.
borrow
That
that from you.
I had that will be very helpful.
Mel, you wanted to get
Yeah,
the dancers. Mel, you wanted to get the dancers to do that. A reverse wheel around would get them there, and then
Oh yeah, no, I know that. I was just trying to think of how I would get them to do the cast off 3/4, but when you get to this point, like if you were calling that, for instance, swing through boys run, veer to the left, or sorry, Ferris wheel, centers, veer to the left, veer to the right, everybody veer to the right, boys trade, boys circulate, cast off 13/16 and veer left, you're home.
Well, actually,
The dancers will figure it out very easily.
Yeah,
if you want to do it technically, you just cast off a half and then circulate a half.
Yeah, but even
Cast
though
off.
the fun part is with the cast off 3/4, and I really like that. And especially if they're standing this way, I would call it, and I know they would make it. This is one of the points which Mel mentioned the last time, which I play with, and the dancers don't know it, but they do it and they succeed. If they trust you and you have worked with the cast off 3/4 and make sure that they go 3/4 around, you could just go ahead and call it everybody cast off 3/4, working around the girls into a wrong way promenade 2 steps in your home. And no matter what, everybody's going to do that, because if they start the right action, they see their home and they will work it the same way.
Yeah.
And the way. And
And
you have called it, right?
Yeah. There's all sorts of little things. Those directional prompts give a whole feel to the dancer. And especially like in this situation, that's why I was saying it. You've done a veer left, a veer right, a veer right. If your workshop theme was veer left, just think, you've done that, cast off 3/4, you played, come to the ending, give them that little surprise ending, cast off almost 3/4, veer left. Guess what? You're home. Great job, guys. They cannot miss, but it feels like, wow, where did that come from?
Yeah, they got to cheer up.
And you're with your theme. The dancers are going, wow, and what have you done? Well, I basically just got lazy as a caller and didn't let them finish a movement and shoved them home. No, they don't mind. That's the difference between how callers think and how dancers think. The caller says, I'm doing one sequence over and over and over. The dancers are going to know I'm doing touch a quarter boys run instead of calling square through. The dancers are going to know I'm doing pass through and wheel around instead of right and left through. That's the caller getting bored. The reality is the dancer's not getting bored. And if you really want to play, pass through, reverse wheel around. Great job, up to the middle and back. The dancers are going to go, okay, I haven't done that in a while. That feels different, but they're back in their comfort zone. It will feel different. It will feel wonderful to them, and especially with that variety. And what have you done? One singing call figure for the last, now we're up to about 90 minutes of straight calling with one singing call figure and just a couple of little variations. You will run out of music long before you run out of ideas by applying these techniques.
Just got to let it happen.
Absolutely.
The way to refine it further, Mel, is to say, okay, I'm going to put the time restraints of the singing call, keep those timing restraints and say, what can I change in those figures, in that figure that you've got, and still keep my singing call timing so I could use it as a singing call.
One of the things that I really and I truly love is, and I'm not a big one for product placement other than my own recordings, but is Goldwing and Fine Tune Records. They have a lot of wonderful pattern music out there, absolutely fantastic stuff, and they are 4 minutes in length, about 4 minutes in length, 7 64-beat phrases, so that it's a standard pattern. And I love that because I don't like long patterns. I find that dancers get very tired. And if you do an 8-minute pattern and a 4-minute tip, you've got them on the floor for 12 minutes. Guess what? Your breaks get longer because they get tired more often in the evening. But if you can get them excited for 4 minutes and keep them excited and relax for 4 minutes through the singing call, give them that couple minutes, they're going to get up on the floor every time and they're going to be there at the end of the dance. But that's just my opinion. Not everybody has that opinion. And as my wife often says when I give her my opinion, Mel, opinions are like backsides. Everybody has one, and we know what's coming out of it. Although that's not about square dancing, but anyway, the essence of the thought is still there.
I think the conversation just got base.
Very base. So, does anybody have any questions or anything you'd like to add or anything you want to look at? We have covered an awful lot of material in the last 2 years on a lot of different topics, but this is essentially the culmination of how that all works together as a review. It was asked for by 3 of you that are in the audience today now. So I hope it met your needs. If it doesn't, by all means, feel free to send me an email. Roz, you had your hand up, I think.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for that, Alan, and the other callers, because when I'm using the Magic module, it starts to feel like it's getting boring. So to do that little bit of variation every now and again, so you're not doing the same thing all night, it's really good. So thank you for that.
Taking that same idea, but that you're just swapping those 2 ladies.
Yeah.
If you go to the corner box again, Mel, and you swing through boys, run, bend the line.
Yeah, type today.
The 2 ladies that you want to chain are the very 2 end ladies on the line. They're the only 2 ladies that are on the end of the line. So if you do on a diagonal, the end ladies chain, you've got a partner line, and if it's out of sequence, so you do a slide through, pass through, and you've resolved, which is a neat little get out too, as well as just going to a partner line.
As Contaminations is not going to let me do that, but if you can all see that, this lady and this lady, just set up a flow, pass her wheel around, just the 2 end ladies chain diagonally. That sets them up there. Everybody has their partner, and they're in a partner line out of sequence. Pass through, bend the line, circle left, or any of your other partner line get outs, or partner line out of sequence get outs. You can do anything you want from there. Don't hesitate to set up a flow to fix something like that, because dancers are just going to love it, because it just feels different, but it's not difficult. And that is the essence of what you want to achieve, is different, not difficult. You want to use the floor. You want to introduce those little flow modules. And as a new caller, me telling you, oh, Dixie style to a wave swing through, chain down the line is a nice flow module, that means nothing to you as a new caller. But if I say reverse flutter wheel is an equivalent of that, well, if you've got a reverse flutter wheel and your flow is nice, then it's going to make sense. If I say a sequence and I say, oh, that does the same as star through, now it makes sense. Now you can start putting it into perspective of where you want to use that, where you want to change that. Don't try and learn these abstracts. Yeah, it's a wonderful sequence. I mean, if you ever get the chance to dance to Jeff or Alan, you'll see these beautiful flowing sequences that will go, and you're gonna, oh, what the hell is that? Well, that's Jeff saying, okay, I got a star through here. I don't want to do that. I'm going to do a woogity boogity whoppity splash and a ding dong with an inverse portfolio, sucking on a Pepsi. That's, I don't know. He calls challenge. I don't know what challenge movements are. So, but anyway, it's got such a beautiful flow. But what he's done is he knows in his head that that's going to do the same thing as star through. this is what I'm going to do. And that's how it works. He keeps it simple. He keeps it different, but not difficult. And what happens is the dancers achieve success, but they feel like they've gone inside out, upside down, backwards, all over the place. A lot of circulates, a lot of flows, a lot of direction changes, and they've had a great time. And what's Jeff done? I'm going to call square through, swing through, boys run, Ferris wheel, centers, pastor. I'm going to call that all night long. I'm just going to disguise it. And Alan will do the same thing, and everybody will do the same thing. And you get these massive dances of happy dancers going, wow, that was fun. I got through that, and it felt weird. We were going left, we were going right, we were dancing with everybody, we were using the whole floor. That's what it's all about. I remember this. I want to come back. And that's what we want to achieve. Hello, Daryl. Welcome. Hello, everybody.
Thank you. Nice to see you all.
I got somebody in the chat here. I'm going to chat comment. What's the chat comment? Oh, glad you enjoyed it. So does anybody have anything else they'd like to add or anything they want to share? Like I said, we're wrapping up 2 years of classes here of showing how it all fits together. And in the new year, we're probably going to be switching to fortnightly or maybe every second and fourth Sunday of the month, still to be determined. There's a lot of talk about who we're going to get in, what we're going to do. We might start looking at just essentially doing a start from scratch callers, introduction to calling, and work all of these kinds of things from start to finish, but even in a little more depth, or we might start looking at other aspects of calling. So far, nobody sent me any emails of what they want to look at specifically in the new year, so I'm just making it up as I go. As a reference, next Sunday is going to be our last Sunday for this year until the new year. Like to get everybody to relax and everything else. I'm not going to really prepare a session. I just want you to bring in your favorite module, your favorite conversion, or your favorite sing call to share and just play with some choreography for a while to see what we can do with it. And if you want to help or ask the experts or the gurus, by all means do. It's just going to be an open forum to wrap up for next Sunday.
Mel, I've got a bit of a different question.
Mm-hmm.
When I was calling the other week, we had one of the dancers make a comment to another dancer of basically saying you don't know what you're doing or you can't do it. And he shouldn't have said it. And I could see he realised he had foot and mouth disease and was trying to weasel out of it. But how do you go about that when you're on the floor? I mean, when it actually happened, I just said, oh, I won't use the name, I'll say Sue. I said, don't worry about that, Sue, just get up there and strut your stuff and show them what you've got. And I did that to try and ease the tension. But it's the only thing I could think of at the time.
Was that after the fact, or was it still on the floor?
That was still on the floor. It was when he made the comment, because we were squared up, we're ready to go, and he made this comment. So I just said that, and hopefully to ease the tension. But
okay, well, if you see that happening on the floor, let's turn this into a more hypothetical example. Alan is calling the dance, and John and I are on the floor. And me, I'm an arrogant so and so and so and so, and I think I'm better.
That's the one.
Other kind of stuff. and I say to John, "Oh, John, you don't know what you're doing." Alan sees this. What Alan would probably do right there and says, and just see it before it goes any further, says, "Oh, sorry about that, guys. That's my mistake. What I meant was this," and just get into a line. Absorb it yourself, because what that does is that says to Mel, pull your head out of your backside, you're being an idiot. 2, it says to John, that guy's being an idiot, you did nothing wrong, that was my mistake. Alan is going to say, that was my mistake, everybody's looking at him now, they're not looking at John, they're not looking at the guy that made the comment and saying, oh, caller's human, you made a mistake too, ha. And then Alan will give him a wham, bam, wow, I'm here, there it is. And they have fun. You use the tension in such a way that you as a caller absorb it. That way Your arrogant
Well, in
dancer
this
gets told
case,
to pull it down, and the dancer that got spoken to is still going to feel a little bad that the person spoke to him, but you've given that out of, oh, it wasn't my mistake, it was there. And chances are afterwards, after the side, you know what? If you're not comfortable dancing, just get in a different square.
well, that's a
Allow
bit
the
hard.
dancer.
That's
Yeah,
a bit
it's a bit
hard when
hard.
we've only got one square.
It is, but you just let
I
that
mean,
go.
he has got a problem, this guy. He thinks he knows it all, and
Yep.
he's perfect
Sorry,
as well.
I actually think I know who you're talking about, so that's not.
It's a new dancer. It's a
Oh,
it's a
okay.
learner. So it's not, no, it's
No,
a brand
then I
new
don't.
dancer sort of thing.
So
So,
in that, you
and
know,
and his wife won't dance with him because he's arrogant, which is interesting.
then
But this actually
absorb,
happened.
yeah,
This happened before I actually called anything. So it's a bit hard to absorb it
absorb
when
it,
you.
absorb it as the caller, and then
Yeah.
you might want to take a quiet aside and say, hey, you know, you're doing really, really well, but some of these guys are having a harder time learning than you are. Give them a break. If you can help them out, help them out. But you know, that's it. And what you've done is this sounds like this guy's got what we call a high D personality, meaning direct, dominant, wants to be in charge, wants to be that.
I've done that disc thing.
let them be in charge of something that is not important, because they'll feel like, oh, I'm in charge. Okay, hey, if you can help them out, just help them out with a kind word or a look, or just point. You'd be surprised how good it is. It's the Huckleberry Finn mentality, where I don't know if you've ever read the book, but you get all these people that don't want to paint the fence. He goes to their personality. Says, oh, you like to be in charge? Listen, I got to get a bunch of people to come over and paint the fence. I'm not sure if I can organize them. Can you give me a hand with that? Hey, great. I'm organizing. I'm in charge. You got another person that just wants to party. You just say, look, we got to get this fence painted and whatnot. I know it's hard work, but tell you what, I'm going to have a big party afterwards, and I'll buy the first beer. Oh, great. Get this done. I get the party. He's going to be there. You get the quiet, shy person that's going to say, oh, yeah, you know, okay, I'll be there and I'll do the, you know, it doesn't say a word. You just say, all they want is appreciation that they're doing a good job. Say, wow, you do such a great job. I could really use your help painting this fence because you're so good at it. I really appreciate everything you do. They're going to be there because you've given them appreciation. Or you get these technical geniuses. You say, Alan and Jeff and Simon are going to come and help me paint the fence. I could really use your help. I think that we've got 4 of us going. I think I need 2 gallons of paint and 4 brushes. That person is going to say, no, how long is your fence? 20 meters? Yeah, you're going to need 5 gallons of paint, and it's going to take you this long. Oh, I don't think so. He'll be there to paint the fence just to prove you wrong. So you're getting all these 4 people that didn't want to paint the fence, but they're all painting the fence because you're going to their strengths. Well, that's going to work, and that actually works very well with square dancing, because you're going to have the same kind of mix of people in your square dance hall. You go to where their personality is, give them that snippet that they want, and they will come to you tenfold, and the rewards are going to come back to you tenfold.
Now, that is half of the bill. On the other side, I'm totally with you, what you said, Mel. You got to strengthen the one who's been put down. Yeah, so he builds up his self-confidence, and you tell him you just as important and play just important a role as any other one in the square, because if you miss, then they have 7 dancers. Yeah, that's one thing. So you're just as important as all the others. And then on the other hand, you know, trying to get self-confident. In Germany, we got a saying, which means the oak. The old oak tree doesn't care what dog lifts his leg. Okay, so sometimes you gotta transfer to them that they get a kind of an old oak mentality, so they don't be so thin, thin skinned, right? So
yeah,
I think part of this dancer's problem is, as you said, he's used to being in control, and he's now suddenly found out he's not as in control as he thinks. So I've been just trying to build up their confidence and praising them and helping where I can. And I think he has improved a bit, and you could certainly see he realized he said the wrong thing. So I don't think it'll happen again, and
Well,
I'll be watching for
if
it.
he's got that and that much is evident, you've already won most of the battle because he's aware of it, and
Yeah.
that's a good thing. What
Yeah.
I agree completely with what Mickey is saying. If you can take this guy's energy, enthusiasm, and dominant nature and channel it into other aspects,
Mhm.
you've got the foundation of a good, solid club member. That, you know, hey, as long as he's in charge, he'll be in charge of recruiting. His own standards are going to say, okay, I got to get at least 10 new dancers in here to show off how good I am. That's only going to benefit the club. And with the dancer that was, you know, I had this a lot of times. Every now and then you get a dancer that has a problem with the movement or has problems with movements, and they feel so frustrated that they're not getting it. I always use the movement square through. When I was learning,
That's one he has trouble with.
When I was learning to call, I said, you know, I could never get square through. I always did it wrong. Even today, I still make, whether it's true or not, pick a movement that is easy and build that rapport and identity with the dancer. You know what? I had exactly the same problem with that movement. It took me, everybody got it. I felt like I was such an idiot learning that it took me 6 weeks before I did my first square through properly without courtesy turning a dancer or doing it wrong. Whether it's true or not, suddenly you're the person in charge, you're the person teaching. They feel that, oh, well, they've got to that point that they're teaching me and they've learned, maybe I can do it in 3 weeks. I'm not so bad after all. I can't give you advice on specific circumstances, just ideas that you might be able to throw around. And if anybody has ideas to help, but when you approach people to the way they like to be spoken to and the way they like to, their personality says, this is how I want to deal with the world, you're going to find that they're going to come to you a lot more than you have to go to them. And they're going to want to help you help themselves.
And sometimes depends on how bad the action was. You have to make a statement. And my statement sometimes then is to say, I am the marshal and I do not need a deputy. Thank you. Because sometimes they want to educate the other dancers, and sometimes even they, with concentrating so much and pushing the others around, they do the mistakes. Yeah,
that often happens.
So, but it's a very political thing, and you got to be very diplomatic. But sometimes you really have to make a statement, right?
And then you do the singing call. I shot the sheriff.
Well, I am the marshal.
Well, a couple of things
I had
just
to
brought
take
up to the whole group. It's like if someone's had a problem, not addressing them necessarily, just addressing the whole group in a nice way of be aware not to do this sort of thing. And then that way, hopefully
you're
gets
not
through.
alone, Roz. You're not alone. I think every person that is picking up a microphone, regardless whether it's square dancing or anything, has been in a situation where they've had to deal with this kind of a situation. You have to go with your own strengths in order to meet theirs. And you have to go with identifying who they are and what they are and find a way to appease that or diffuse it before it becomes an issue. It's sometimes, really hard.
Sometimes, Mel, when you try to address something and you talk about it without trying to say directly who it is or whatever, there are going to be other people in the audience who suddenly think, oh, was that me? Oh, did I? And so, no, seriously, there are some individuals who are, sort of quieter sort of people that might sort of think, oh, gee, I've been really mucking everybody up sort of thing, because they might have been making mistakes as well. You mightn't have noticed it. But I think you've also got to say to them, square dancing is an activity that involves a whole lot of people, and everybody has different abilities and different traits. And it's, it's just like the United Nations. You've got to learn to live with each other if you want to enjoy the activity.
And
not in nothing more.
When I was calling in,
it's not a one-way street, and if it really gets an issue, this is another thing, then talking should not be done over the mic.
That's true.
And even if it's been a continuous problem and it's a real issue and it affects the group, then probably it's not good to talk alone with that person, because if you do that alone by yourself, it doesn't matter if it's the president or someone of the board or you as the caller, then they always can go out and say, well, he doesn't or she doesn't like me. and can make it a personal thing and go out to the group and say, you see, they're picking on me. So if it's something official and a real issue, you get together with the board and at least two of them with you, talk to him, because it's an official type thing. And you may even tell him that he can bring someone along. So, you know, that it is a kind of a fair interaction and a fair discussion. Okay.
In
but
the
that's where you
ideal
make your
world, though,
point of
Nick,
view. And
Yeah. in the ideal world, if things have got to that point where you're actually, what you're talking about is a mediation type action against somebody, that's got pretty serious. And those, and I agree with you, you have to deal with those. I want to add that those are pretty rare occurrences when it gets to that level. In most cases, you will find a way. One of the things, when I was calling Mississippi, we had a couple of dancers that were always having significant problems. They did not like having their name mentioned. They didn't like any attention whatsoever. Absolute wallflower, shadows of the wallpaper, of the flower on the wallpaper pressed against the wall. If they could get there, they would call underneath the pedal on the wallpaper. That's what these guys were like. One of the other callers, who was a friend of mine, he said, look, this is the issue they're having. I was calling and said, what you need to do is you need to get somebody in there, and he volunteered himself. If you say something like, Brian, turn around, if you need him to turn around, if you start with my name first, rather than my name, like not turn around Brian, but Brian, turn around, something like that. If that guy makes a mistake, just say it to me. I know if my name's first, what you're doing.